welcome to WagerTalk TV 2-0 CFL preview show. Preview show brought to you by WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McInnis, our insider Rob Braley is away today, so I am turning Andrew McInnis into the insider today, and I'm going to pelt him with three questions. But let's bring Andrew in right away. Andrew, I'm a big, as you know, I'm a big Argos fan. The Argos continue to score points, rack up. And I think that's probably why Rob isn't here today, because we beat up on his Hamilton Tiger Cats. But with that, a little caveat, Rob did say that the Argos were going to probably run it up on Hamilton, that the Argos team total was a great bet to make, and that got there with relative ease. I didn't join him at Tim Hortons Field for the game. It was the day after the Blue Jays game that he treated a bunch of us to at the Rogers Center in a private box. So we had a good day there. I couldn't do it twice in a row. My liver just can't take it. Andrew, how was your weekend? Because I know it had to be good because you had a 5% winner.
It was great. It was awesome to end the week on a great note. Of course, having the 5%er to end the week, the last game of the week, expecting some points, betting a game, Calgary and Ottawa over 44, cashing that with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. You can't ask for anything better than that. And that's not going to happen every single time, but 75% on the season now with those 5% wagers. And I got to give a huge shout out to Rob for giving me this jersey. He sent it here, and from the BC Lions as well. This is a Justin McInnis jersey. So I didn't custom to my last name. There's already a player on the team, and a great player with the same last name, same spelling as me. So thank you to Rob Braley for that and the BC Lions. Carm, looking forward to week 8, man. Lots of great opportunities here.
Yeah, there definitely is. Andrew, I seriously considered getting a Chad Kelly jersey, but I have this thing. I don't know what it is, Andrew. It is called the Jersey Mush. And literally, what the Jersey Mush is, if you don't know what it is I buy a jersey of a football team, could be a basketball jersey, and seemingly that player plays 1 year with that team and then gets moved or traded elsewhere. I've got a closet full of jerseys of players who no longer are with their teams. So I don't want to do it to Chad because he's having a great season thus far. But with that said, let's get into the market mover segment. Andrew, what do you got for us?
This week, we're going to take a look at the Hamilton and Ottawa game as the market mover. I saw it open up as high as +5 as far as Hamilton as the underdogs in this one. Now down to 3.5 at the majority of sports books here. Ottawa, Dustin Crum, what a back-to-back week performance from him. They were decent-sized underdogs in both weeks, knocking off Winnipeg and then Calgary. Both of those games going to overtime, and they get the job done. You know, I think right now Ottawa's become a team that has impressed CFL bettors. People are making money with them, and Dustin Crum seems to be the guy. He can move his feet. He can, he's confident in the pocket at making his decisions. And with that, I was a bit surprised to see how big the point spread opened up. But it did, and people started to jump in on Hamilton. Now, Hamilton coming off a game like you just talked about against Toronto, the best team in the league. They put up big points. So it's interesting to see how this one shapes out. I do think if you like the under, bet that one now. And if you do like Ottawa, I would bet that now. I think we'll see a little bit of a reverse and things will start to go back up again. But from the openers, very second that this opened, I saw +5 as far as Hamilton goes, now down to +3.5, Carm. So it's very interesting. This is a big game for Hamilton. And I'm curious to see what the number lands on before kickoff.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm a little surprised the fact that number dropped during last week's show. I talked to Rob just before the show, and I said to him, I go, I just feel like Ottawa is a live dog on the money line, and I'm going to sprinkle some on Ottawa, and he tended to agree with me. At least take the points and sprinkle on the money line, and they got there. It's 2 weeks in a row, and they open up as a favor, and then that line drops, and maybe it's a we've seen Ticat numbers go the wrong way as far as closing line value goes. What do you think? Do you think this is right down? This is down to 3.5. Do you think we get it back up to 4, 4.5, 5?
I think it could bounce back up. So I think that if anybody likes Ottawa, play it now. But I think if you like Hamilton and you missed out on that really good number at the very fresh opener, I would wait. That's what I think here, Carmen. Honestly, as you just mentioned, we've talked about it several weeks in a row now. But just to tell people, in the years past, where the money has taken some of these lines has been accurate and been correct. This year in the CFL, as you stated, not as much. Don't let this move and the market move make you think that, if you liked Ottawa already, make you second guess yourself. The way I look at it is you're just getting a better number on the Redblacks right now. I haven't pulled trigger on this game quite yet as far as the side perspective goes. But from where I'm sitting right now, I would just look at it as now you're getting a better number on the favorite.
Yeah, and it's going to be Cat rookie quarterback Taylor Powell making his second start, Andrew, for the Cats. Both Levi Mitchell and Matt Schiltz are on the 6-game injury list. So we'll talk about the quarterback injuries in a moment. But that's Andrew McInnis, our CFL guru over at WagerTalk. And you'll see on the screen throughout the show that Andrew has a promo up, AM7, to get $30 off a 7-day all-access package. He's got a 5% play loaded for the weekend. So grabbing that 7-day all-access is a great deal. Now, Rob would normally be here, but Rob is traveling. He will be back next week. Or I don't think he wanted to talk about the Argos, but I know he's watching. So with that said, Rob, we miss you, and we'll see you next week. Andrew, let's get into the Insiders Report. I want to talk about the QB injuries, and we've had a bunch of QB injuries thus far. You've got from Saskatchewan, Trevor Harris. Vernon Adams for BC got injured. It looks like it's going to be Dane Evans this week for them. You got Ottawa, 2 quarterbacks for them, Tyree Adams and Masoli injured. What has this done to the CFL season? I have my fingers crossed that the few remaining number 1 QBs don't get injured, Andrew.
It's really tough, Carm, because I think in order to be successful as a quarterback in the CFL, you have to be able to move. You have to be able to escape the pocket, make plays on your feet. But from right now, where the CFL sits, any quarterback that decides to leave the pocket, they're paying for it in a big, big way. It's tough. And, I was reading an article the other day about the fact that maybe the CFL needs to, strengthen up that salary cap a little bit or start paying offensive linemen more and going out and getting better O linemen, because it sounds like the protection has just not been there as much this year, just as much as maybe the players aren't escaping the pocket and getting rid of these bad situations. But whatever it might be, it has been hurting the product. But in a case like with Ottawa and the Redblacks, Dustin Crum seems to be the answer. I mean, the guy's put up over 30 points back-to-back weeks, playing very well. Sometimes injuries is how you find that next man up. But what really I find rough, Carm, is that it's not just the backup QBs that are now in. We're seeing 2 teams, like you just talked about, with their 3rd string quarterback in. That's rough. I mean, Matthew Schultz for the Hamilton Tire Cats, he thought he was finally getting his start after Bo Levi Mitchell goes down, and then he gets injured himself. And now Powell is in for Hamilton. So it's just tough to look at. Of course, I'm looking forward to attending the Argos and Rough Riders game this weekend in the CFL Touchdown Atlantic game here in where I live in Halifax. But I do not get to see Trevor Harris. So how will that impact the offense of the Rough Riders? We will find out. But it's certainly impacting the league. But I will tell you, good teams have depth, and that applies to the BC Lions. For anybody out there new to following the CFL, big play VA, Vernon Adams Jr. is a great quarterback, but Dane Evans is very serviceable. I like him as well, Carm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Normally, Andrew, we'll talk about QBs that get injured and it has an adverse effect on the team. They don't play well. But some of these backup QBs have come in and done well, especially Ottawa with Crum. So we'll see where that goes. talking about big games, and you're going to one. Let's talk about the Calgary Stampeders, Andrew. 0-3 at home. They're on the road where they're 2-1 this week, taking on the Montreal Alouettes. Now, we've talked about or you guys talked about a couple of weeks back about the whole crossover playoff scenarios. And you got Calgary right now sitting at, where are they, 2-4. They can ill afford to continue to lose games, go to 2-5. It puts them in a bad spot. The Edmonton Elks are kind of reserved. They've got that bottom spot secured. You would think 0-7, a disastrous season for them. But this is a big game for the Stampeders. Give me your thoughts.
It really is. I have this team over 9.5 wins in the season. I'll tell you, that's been the probably the toughest win total I've had to start the season, at least as far as what they've been able to do. A lot of harsh words from Coach Dickinson in the media this week, pretty much throwing his team under the bus, and I'd say rightfully so. Jake Mayer, it seems like right now it takes him a quarter and a half to get into a football game. He was throwing the ball downfield, making big plays, but if you cannot protect the football, if you're throwing 2 interceptions in the first half, if you aren't reliable, it's tough. And a couple drop plays, defense didn't show up in the right time. Last year, one of the biggest things about Calgary was they couldn't finish in close games, and they didn't have the best record against teams with a winning record. But I took a look before the season. I thought this team got better. They improved, and maybe they can turn some of those close games into victories instead of losses. But this year, it seems to have gone the opposite direction. I'll tell you what, point blank about this Calgary team, I will continue to bet the over in their games. I will continue to bet the team total over for their opponent if it is at a good number, because their defense is not reliable at this point.
All right, Andrew, final question for you before we get into inside the numbers. Ottawa, 2 wins in a row for the Redblacks. And of course, they get Hamilton this weekend. You look at that division, and the Argos are off to a 5-0 start. But you've got Ottawa at 3-3, Montreal at 2-3, and Hamilton at 2-4. If the Ticats win this game and Montreal loses their game, we literally have a 3-way tie at 3-4 in this division. Are the Redblacks as good as they've been the last couple of weeks? And it's with Crum at QB. He was 23 of 29 last game, 254 yards passing, a couple TDs, and 63 yards on the ground rushing in that rocking chair, for you at least, total winner, 43-41 in overtime. How good are the Redblacks with this QB change?
We see it happen all the time, especially in the NFL, where if a division is not that strong, then it's always open. It's always fair play for that team to come second place, third place, so on and so forth. We know who the top dog is, but who's going to be the second place and the third place team? I will put it this way. I think Ottawa is the real deal. They are making plays, but I think that we're going to see some point spread overreactions, as I saw with the opener this past week or earlier a couple days ago. So ATS wise, I think they might not be the best bet down the line, Carm, but I do think that they will be a good bet as far as winning and taking care of things in this division. Like I said, having a quarterback that can run is great. Having a good special teams is great. And it finally seems like after a few tough years, this Redblacks team is finding some chemistry. So I'm high on them right now, but it's after 2 big outright upset wins. So I think we'll have to kind of hold things off a little bit and be careful with betting some of these point spreads. There might be some overreactions.
All right. Love it, Andrew. Andrew McInnis of Wager Talk, our CFL go-to expert. We're in week 8. This season just seems to be breezing along, but I've gotten a ton of information from you and from Rob Braley as well, too. Excuse me. I stay in my lane, try and make money off the picks you guys are giving me, and then talk to some of the other guys as well, too. Don Buster, Rob Vino, and other guys that do CFL over at Wager Talk. But Andrew, I want to get into inside the numbers. And we talked about it with the opening numbers in some of these games. What surprised you, if anything, in these opening numbers? And we'll have a look at them on the screen.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I've talked a lot of this show about the Ottawa one. That one, I saw them being favored at -5. Toronto, we haven't seen much movement in that one. I've mostly seen -10s, 10.5s. I have seen some love coming in on the over in that one. BC and Edmonton, I saw some 8s, 8.5s. Now we're seeing 9s, 9.5s. Would not surprise me if by kickoff time we're seeing BC -10 against the Edmonton Elks. So if you like BC, I'd probably jump into that one right away. Bookmakers seem to like the under on that one. I have seen them kind of hold steady on that one. Look, BC's a great team, but the last time BC played the Elks, they won 22-0. They did not allow a single point from the Edmonton Elks. So be careful about that one if you're betting the over. And the last one, Calgary Stampeders +2.5, opener, Montreal -2.5, money line -135. And that number, I think, is only going to go one way, and it's going to go towards the home team, the team fresh off a bye. I've talked about it countless times, Carm. These teams off bye weeks, usually they fare pretty well when they come back, especially at home.
Yeah, and that BC defense has been very good this season. But if you're going to lay the number and you're going to lay 9 or 10 points, just make sure you're okay with Dane Evans as your quarterback, as opposed to Vernon Adams, who was injured last week and didn't finish the game, and is, as far as I'm seeing, isn't available this weekend. So it's going to be Dane Evans for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Andrew, one question before we get into the extra point. When you look at these numbers, and I get it, the Argos are 5-0, they're putting up a ton of points. But at what point the bookmakers aren't dumb? The bookmakers are adjusting lines. This isn't a home game for Toronto. This is being played out east, as you said. You're going to the game. At what point is the value gone on taking the Argos on the point spread, or even auto clicking on any Argos over?
Well, here's the deal. They're 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread, and they're a positive bet winning wager right now as far as taking the over. So, as Steve Merrill says, don't catch a falling knife, as many people say it. Don't go against the trend. People also say, Carm, but like you said, there's going to be some of these numbers now that start to get heavily inflated. I will say that I'm very careful and cautious about CFL backdoor wagers. I've been a lot more of a first half guy with big spreads like this. Some might say, well, they need the full game to get going and then blow a team out. But in a contest like this, I could very well see a backdoor cover with a point spread like 10.5, 11. So it's getting up there, Carm, as far as how high these spreads are for Toronto. But how do you go against perfect 5-0 ATS, 5-0 straight up?
No, listen, I get it. But sometimes that light at the end of the tunnel is a train. So you've got to take that with a grain of salt. With that said, Andrew, let's get into the extra point segment. And of course, as I mentioned, Andrew's got a 5% play load on the weekend, AM7, to get $30 off a 7-day all access for him. Tell us what you got in the extra point.
Well, Carmine, I got to thank you actually for some soccer winners. So, guys, make sure you check out Carmine, of course, at WagerTalk as well. Tokyo Brandon always says wake up and win with his Korean baseball play as well. It's wake up and win in the World Cup sometimes, now the Women's World Cup. So, thank you to Carmine for padding my bankroll with some soccer wagers. For me, with my extra point wager here, we're going with the under 49 Hamilton and Ottawa. Now, guys, we're sitting here in week 8. Things are a bit different than they were several weeks ago. I know Hamilton was a team that had a poor defense. They gave up a ton of points. Ottawa recently, they've been scoring and involved in some shootouts. But here's the deal. I'm a watcher. I watch every game. Hamilton is struggling right now on their third string quarterback. Their run game isn't working right now. Their offense does not look nearly as strong. As far as Ottawa is concerned, honestly, they played well last week and they got the outright win, but they made use of bad plays by Calgary. 2 early game interceptions from Calgary's quarterback, Jake Mayer, some fumbles. A lot of things worked out very well for Ottawa. I believe they'll go back to their identity. They're going to run the ball heavily. And 49 is a very high total for 2 teams' third string quarterbacks. Let's not forget, we have the battle of third string quarterbacks here, Carm. I'll take under 49 Ottawa Hamilton for my extra point this week.
Under 49. I like it, Andrew. It's funny. Rob always talks every once in a while about teasers, and you would think one of those 10-point teasers is you add 10 points to that Ottawa game, make it under 59. Take the Argos, which basically makes them a pick 'em, and take the BC Lions, which basically makes them a pick 'em. So that's not a bad one. I may play it myself. I'm not a huge teaser guy in the CFL. I definitely am in the NFL. But with that said, guys, thanks for tuning in. A shorter version of the Two and Out show this week for week 8 in the CFL. Remember, you can find Andrew over at Wager Talk, myself included. I've got some World Cup plays, some League Cup games. It is a busy time right now, tournament wise in soccer. So you get some of that and you get some CFL football over at Wager Talk. We'll see you next week with week 9 of Two and Out. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and good luck with your wagers.